front for me. There we go. Right. So can everybody see the presentation slides on screen? Just let me know. It should say social selling workshop, how to generate sales on LinkedIn within 30 days. Okay, cool. We have indeed. Steve and Michelle definitely have said, yes, we can definitely see the screen. If anyone has any technical issues or anything like that as we go through this, do let me know. I'll check with everybody to see if they're all having it. I hope we don't come across any way. My internet is quite strong today, so hopefully we should be all right. Now, the information that I'm going to be sharing with you today has been gathered from all the different conversations we have as a business. Now, we've been operating for over 4 years now, and with that comes a lot of hours on Zoom talking to people. Now, I've spoken personally to over 1,000 different companies now over the last 2 years specifically. And what I see typically are some common reasons as to why people fail. Now, these reasons don't change. And the content in this presentation does. However, the reasons as to why people struggle always stays the same. Now, and what I want you to do, as I bring these 5 reasons up, what I'd love to know is which ones most relate to you. So if you were going to pick one out of these 5 as I bring them up, which one specifically has the biggest impact or is the thing that's holding you back most right now? The first key reason, following all those different conversations, is that people are using LinkedIn, right? Let me know in the chat. Are you using LinkedIn right now? Give me a yes if you are a LinkedIn user currently. Now, most people are using it, and most people know they need to build a network. But the problem is because it's getting more and more competitive out there right now, as in there's more content on this platform than ever before. There's more users on this platform than ever before. The problem is that your engagement is low. And therefore reactions, comments, shares, all these vanity metrics that I know deep down don't mean too much. Not having the ability to be able to grow them, not having the ability to be able to reach more people is a big struggle. And the reason being is because what you're saying and what you're sharing, unfortunately, isn't landing with the people that you're connecting with. So your message is crucially important. And throughout today, I'm going to be talking a lot about message and how important it is to frame what you do in the right way. The second key reason is that the content that you're posting, you might find it a bit of a chore to create. Now, I'm not a massive lover of social media. I kind of fell into doing this for a living. However, social media completely changed my life in the way that I was building my business, and it made everything so much easier. I was traveling up and down the country, going to networking event after networking event after networking event, and I just got tired of it. And so social was something that I did to try and leverage everything a little bit more. But what I'm seeing time and time again is more and more pointless content out there than ever before. Now, what I want you to have a think about here is every morning or every afternoon, whenever you click onto LinkedIn or any social media platform, have you ever realized that before you engage with something, before you like something or comment on something, you typically scroll past 10 to 15 other bits of content before you do so? Have you ever noticed that? You're not liking engaging with everything, right? You're liking or something like 1 out of every 10 to 15 posts. Now, that is the biggest issue most people have. It's how do you become the piece of content that people stop on, read, watch, and consume? And throughout today, I'm going to be talking to you about the different content types and content themes you can use to be able to actually generate some impressions and start to gain people's attention. But one of the biggest reasons people struggle is that they just blend in with everyone else and they end up just being scrolled past. Number 3, when it comes to generating business from these platforms, is that you just don't have a big enough audience, right? I think we can all be honest with ourselves and say, we wish our audience was bigger. We wish we had more people that knew what we did. Now, what most people see is when they first start using social, they see a bit of a spike. Then what happens is it just slowly fades away and it's not consistent. It's because you're not growing your audience quick enough. So again, one of the key reasons why people struggle is that they cannot generate consistent new traffic every single month. Number 4 is the gold one, really. It's the thing that I find very, very sexy when it comes to business. Not everybody does, but this was the difference maker for me that so many people lack. And that is a predictable and sustainable process that leads somebody from connection to customer. If you don't have a drawn out journey, if you don't know how your content plays a part in nurturing people through to the point they're ready to buy from you, then that's something that you need to put in place. And it's what I see lots and lots of people miss. they're using these platforms and hoping for the best, right? It's almost like spray fire rather than sniper rifle. And what we want to do is create a strategy for you today that isn't based on hope, because that's what I see in time and time again. People are just hoping that if they just do this for long enough, that eventually it will just happen for them. In fact, that's some of the advice that people are given. There are experts in this space that give advice where it's just be consistent. Has anyone ever had that advice before? Just be consistent. Eventually it will change. Like, I hear it time and time again, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, well, if you've not generated a result or a lead in 30 days of activity, right, more of the same is not going to make a difference. If you've not generated any lead in 30 days of work, you're doing something wrong. So consistency isn't the answer. You've got to change. You've got to adapt. You've got to reframe. You've got to create something different. And so with all of those 5 reasons there, typically one of them lands closer to the heart than others. So what I want you to put in the chat for me here is which one, 2, 3, 4, or 5, most relates to you. Be really curious to see. I actually just need a drink, but I mean, let's just play with it. Okay, 4 and 5s, 2 and 3. 4 and 5s again. So again, a bit of hope, which is fine. I appreciate the honesty here, by the way. It's amazing. Good stuff. Cool. Okay. Well, the good thing is today I'm going to be sharing a little bit about everything. So you're going to have content on each of those 5 points today. I've broken it down into 3 sections for you. We're going to start with clarity, which is the real big part that everyone needs to focus in on, even if you are a big business right now. Getting clarity on the 3 things that I'm going to share with you, really, really key. I'm then going to move into your LinkedIn activity, and then I'm going to talk to you about how do you convert that LinkedIn activity. Now, I don't spend very much time talking about me on this workshop whatsoever, because I know you don't really care about it. But just so you know, the information that I'm going to be sharing today isn't just like plucked out of thin air and regurgitated from what someone else has said. I spent hours testing this stuff, and everything that I'm going to share with you, you will see there is evidence supporting what it is that I'm saying. That evidence isn't from years ago. That evidence is from the last 6 months. And so, although these algorithms are changing quite quickly, I am always, always on top of this stuff. And one thing I do promise you is that I will always be brutally honest with you. So even when you might not want to hear a piece of advice, my job is to share it with you. It's the ethos of our whole company. And with that comes lots of results. Those results and those tips and that expertise I share on my LinkedIn profile. So if we're not connected on LinkedIn right now, and you are currently watching this on your computer, so you've got your phone to hand, if you open up your camera and just share that, just hover over that QR code, that should take you to my profile. What I'd love for you to do is don't follow me, connect with me. What I love about the people that come to these workshops is the fact that I can give you feedback. So what I typically do once or twice a week is I will look at all the new people that have connected with me, and I'll take a look at your profile, and I'll just drop you a couple of lines with a bit of advice. Now, I can only do that if we're connected. So if you go to my profile, press the 3 dots rather than the follow button, and then press connect. With that, I will typically filter through. I won't be able to do it instantly because there's lots of you on here today, but I do slowly make my way through this. So to get started with it all, by the way, does that all make sense so far? Are we excited for today? Does this information seem like it's going to be useful to you? Just give me a yes or a thumbs up if that's the case. Let me know before I get cracking. I've got a couple of people looking forward to it. That's good. There we go. They're all coming in. Good stuff. So I think it's really important to add the context. Let's set the scene. Why do I spend so much time on LinkedIn in 2024? Why? Like, why this platform? I use them all. So I'm going to hold my hands up. I use every platform apart from Snapchat and TikTok. They're the 2 that I've just never really got to grips with. TikTok is a regret. I wish I'd started on it earlier, but I built a following for myself at around about 30,000 people within about 2 months on Instagram. Instagram was my platform, the platform that I loved. Back in 2022, you might know Instagram released a new content type. Does anyone know what that content type is? Instagram released it a couple of years ago, changed the platform forever. Does anyone know what the content type is? Instagram Reels, spot on, Martin and James. Now, Instagram Reels completely turned my world upside down because me as an Instagram creator, I was all about photographs and graphics. That was how I built my following. I documented my journey, but the information and value was that content type. I am not a short form video creator. I'm already waffling on now. I've been going 12 minutes. I'm only 9 or 10 slides in, right? I can't get a message clear in 5 to 10 seconds. It's literally impossible. And so what happened was the overall reach that I was getting on Instagram, where it was around about 3 to 4 million people every single 3 months, it dropped to around about 5 to 10,000. It was a huge, huge decrease. And therefore, what I had to do was decide to make a switch. I wanted to have a look at what other platforms are out there. And LinkedIn was one, YouTube was another. YouTube for me plays a big part, which I will talk about in this presentation and how they work together. But in terms of LinkedIn, there were some key significant reasons why I started using it back then and why I now use it continuously now. The first one is purely because you can build a targeting following easily and at speed. So let me just make this really clear. You cannot build a platform, like build a following in the same way that you do on LinkedIn on any other platform. Like the ability to be able to request a connection and have them accept it back, and you both then see each other's content isn't possible on any other platform, right? So we've got to take advantage of that. As you've seen, the majority of people on here today, there's 90 of you currently live. Like the majority of you on here are active, like you're using the platform. If I'd have asked you this 3 to 4 years ago, that would have probably been 50% of your current people that are on here right now. People are using this platform every day, and therefore with activity comes opportunity. What you need to learn, if you haven't already, is the skill of how to get someone's attention when they don't know who you are. And so when you're freely searching for people and trying to find your ideal client avatar, like you've got to take advantage of the fact that this is even here in the first place. LinkedIn are already making changes. They're making it harder to search, with search limits coming in place, with more things having for you to have premium and sales nav. I still use the free version of LinkedIn. Like I don't pay for it, only maybe periodically, to be fair, I pay for it when they give me a free trial or a discount. But that's going to get harder, right? So you've got to take advantage that you can do this. Typically across our whole customer base, what we're currently running a social selling challenge at the moment, which is all around follower growth. And what we are seeing at the moment is a minimum of 500 new followers every single month. So if you're not getting that as a baseline, there's improvements to make. The second key reason is organic reach. And this is what I would rank as the second biggest reason. Ability to network build is probably the third. This is the second biggest reason. There's no hiding this. Like reach, your ability to reach people for free without using paid advertising methods is reducing across every platform month on month. But actually what I'm seeing is people are growing on this platform faster than ever before. I'm not growing the fastest out there, right? I'm really, really honest about it. But when I'm analyzing it, I'm seeing growth quicker on this platform than I've seen on any other, like quicker than I built an Instagram following. The opportunity comes from understanding what content you need to be creating on this platform to actually trigger conversation and trigger opinions. And there are two things that you need in your content if you want it to travel: conversation in the comments, and you need to share your opinions on certain things to generate those conversations. I'm going to say this, I'm going to back it up with a couple of different examples in a second, but even with an audience of 1,000 people, even if you only have 1,000 followers, you can still reach hundreds of thousands of people. And so even if you're just starting, you can grow at speed on this platform. But this is the key reason. Like your ability to convert strangers, like on this platform, the tools that LinkedIn gives you, I've not seen on any other platform before. Like this is one example on the right-hand side here, which is LinkedIn events. I mean, I'm actually curious, how many people today have come off the back of being invited via a LinkedIn event? Just let me know. I'm just curious to know what the numbers are more than anything. Like typically, the majority of people come from the email list, which is something, again, I'm going to talk to you about. But actually, as you can see, there's a few people here that probably didn't know who I was beforehand, but the LinkedIn event is driven them there. Sorry to keep you typing all the time, but out of interest, how many of you, is this your first workshop that you've ever attended of mine, or have you attended multiple? How many people have attended the first? This is your first ever time or multiple? So again, you can see here the difference like a LinkedIn event can make, right? Like it's a huge, huge thing. And therefore, when you do this right, when you utilize these tools, you will then have that predictable and lead generation process, which you can just continuously hammer down. Like LinkedIn, there's no hiding it. I've generated over 11,000 leads for free using LinkedIn events. So all of you that have said yes, right? All of you that have said yes to coming from a LinkedIn event, that is an email address that I qualify as a lead. That's perfect because I have the ability to promote in future if I want. I can add more content to you and nurture you if I want. I've got to move you off the platform for it to work. And bearing in mind, we have tested Facebook ads and we are going to continue to test paid advertising, right? Like to be able to get 11,000 people right now, email addresses, 11,000 email addresses from Facebook, Instagram, YouTube ads, you're looking at 100 grand. £100,000, and that's the data that backs it up. Small ad spend, right, that you can see. But the best I got was not £8.47 a lead, £8.47 an email address. I get that for free just by pushing buttons on LinkedIn. So it's not about choosing one or the other. It's about getting one process nailed in and then looking at all your additional traffic sources and plugging it in, because LinkedIn alone will get you going. But it's not the be all and end all. There's different traffic sources that you can plug in, like paid advertising here, which drives more traffic through. And when you look at the tools these platforms gives you, it's about understanding them and realizing whether it's going to work for your business or not. And that's where I want to move into clarity. So clarity is all around your message, it's all around your audience, and it's all around your offer. Now, most people start with your offer first. But I'm actually going to start with your target market and your audience first, because building an audience on LinkedIn is easy. Building the right and targeted audience is actually a bit harder, because most people, like I mentioned before, you know how to connect. Like, how many of you on here are currently building your network actively, pressing the connect button with what you would call your target market right now? So give me a yes or a no if you are. I guarantee it's the majority. And therefore, you can see my following on the right-hand side there, right? This was in the 17th of January, 2023. I had 13,000 followers. But if you're not building your network, this is that virtual kick up the backside to do it. But if you are, what I want you to start doing is doing it a bit smarter. Because what most people are doing is connecting with people that are either not active or not interested. So for me, every connection request that I send, it's a bit of a ball ache. I'm not going to lie. It takes an extra 5 seconds each time. But what I do is I just go click onto their profile and see if they've engaged in the last 30 days. If they have, I know they're on the platform. That increases the likelihood of them accepting my connection request. And therefore, what you need, that's just one of 15 different things that you can put into an audience growth strategy to start increasing the quality of your connections. But my key question is, and this is just something to think about in a bit of detail. It's a question for you to take away and maybe do just like 20 minutes of brainstorming around. Like the people that you're connecting with, like, are they hungry? Do they have a huge desire for what you have to offer? Or are you unsure? When I say that, there are ways that you can figure out if somebody is really interested in what you've got to do. And I'm going to be teaching you this as we go through this session. But what I find the majority of the time, should I say, is that most people are sending a connection request, getting it accepted, and then just becoming another connection on the platform. And that was something that I was doing. And that was why my following, although it was growing at speed, the bottom line wasn't growing in the business when I first started using this platform. But you can see here the steady incline of mine. I've not had a big spike or anything with my platform. My following is now at 18,300, right? So you can see 5,000 connections in about a year. It's nothing massive. 5,000 followers in a year is tiny. It's nothing. But the thing that I'm looking at here is not just about the follower number. It's how that follower number increases revenue. So you can see there, like this is just from our social selling suite product, the growth that this product has seen. Now, with that, we track everything, like whether it's content, whether it's the webinar performance, whether it's our strategy calls and audits we have. I'm going to share our whole process with you shortly so you can see it. But like what I'm looking for is the activity on social directly correlating to increased monthly recurring revenue? And with this means that I don't need to grow. If it happens, amazing, right? If I do grow by 100,000 people, which is a target, right, to do that, but it doesn't rely on that for my business to grow. What I'm looking at is a certain metrics that I need to hit to be able to hit our sales target every single month without fail. And we haven't missed a sales target for the last 2 years, which may mean that they're not large enough, right? I get it. However, we have set realistic targets. And with that, we've seen great growth with an actually very low overhead team. Getting and understanding your target market is key. And understanding how hungry they are is key. I'm going to tell you a quick story, right? Now, when it comes to target market, I didn't make this up. I heard this from somewhere and it blew my mind in terms of how simple it is. You imagine you had a hot dog stand, right? Bear with me, okay? I know this is going to sound ridiculous, but imagine you had a hot dog stand, and that hot dog stand, you had maybe a magic genie come up and say, look, you can have one wish for your hot dog stand that's going to make the hot dog stand business the best in the world or the best in New York City. Right, you may stand up, then you may wish, right, I want to make sure that I've got the best hot dog possible. Right, that could be something that you'd wish for. But actually, the genie turns around and goes, no, that's not the wish that you want. You may then turn around and go, right, I want the fastest cooking hot dog so I can serve more at speed. The genie will turn around and go, no, that's not the wish that you want. So you get frustrated and you go, well, what should I wish for then? He goes, well, what you should wish for is, why don't you put your hot dog stand, right? Wish for it to be on the busiest corner of New York City, outside the busiest office building. Then it doesn't matter how good the hot dog is, really. As long as you've got an average hot dog, it works. It doesn't matter how quick you make it. If you're in the right place at the right time with the right hungry audience, you're going to be fully booked. And that hit me. I was like, right, what I've got to do is make sure that my audience are hungry, my offer speaks their language and meets the expectation of that hunger, and therefore be in a place where I've just got that many people that it almost becomes fighting them off and pushing them away. Does that make sense? I have absolutely butchered that story. Because for me, when I heard it, I was like, that's like such a simple concept, but actually it makes you rethink everything that you're doing online. And so once you know that, and once you know who you're targeting, you can then craft your offer. What I notice, and you don't have to tell me in the chat, right? That's it, Johnny. It was from Alex Hormozy. Correct, exactly that. Now, I'm trying to remember where I got it from. That's spot on. It was on one of his YouTube videos, I think. But like this offer here with what you're doing, like what I'm seeing time and time again is most people are just solely reliant on word of mouth referrals. Right, that's a big thing at the moment. They're relying on inbound, and that is brilliant, right? It's amazing when they're coming in. But what most people find in their businesses is that it's feast and famine. They're either really busy or really quiet. Really busy, really quiet. And therefore, it's not consistent. Now, what I want you to think about here is how can you frame what it is that you do to make it more urgent that someone makes a decision? Because if it isn't, what typically happens, and these are the symptoms to look out for, is you will send a proposal or have a conversation and you won't receive a no. No one will say no to you. They'll just ignore you. They'll just ghost you. And like that for me was something that I was getting time and time again with an old product, which I'm going to share with you in a second in terms of how it worked. But like I was sitting there and I'm like, right, how do I actually get people to understand that what I'm doing has value, that actually does meet an objective? And what I realized was that I've got to make sure that with my ideal client avatar, I understand what it is that's going through their mind right now. I'm going to give you the example of this in a second, because when I first started in February 2020, I had an Instagram company. I built an Instagram following. People asked me for help on Instagram. So I started to have an agency that was built around Instagram. And what I used to do was run a 2-day Instagram masterclass. And I used to absolutely bust my ass trying to fill that room. You can see there was only 10 to 12 people. It was tiny. I was selling tickets for like 500 to £1,000, and it was a real slog. It was labeled an Instagram 2-day masterclass, and I was sitting there, and you can see what happened in the world in March 2020, right? We can all think back to what happened then. But because I was forced to go from in-person to online, I thought, you know what, let's just reshape everything, because I was sitting there and I got some feedback back from clients. Nobody wanted to sit in a room for 2 days learning about Instagram. What they wanted was to get the result as quickly as they possibly could. And the result that they were wanting was more followers. And so literally I made a how to gain 1,000 followers in 30 days challenge, where I basically took the same training that I was doing in a 2-day Instagram masterclass, broke it down into an online program, and then just put it out there as an offer. It started off at 60 quid, then 100, then 150, then 200, and then it got to £300. What happened in that month, those couple of months to come, by selling the same product, just packaged in a different way, was literally mind-blowing. Like, I'd never, and bearing in mind this was a few years ago, I'd never made that much money in an information consulting-based business before. I had in my previous property businesses, but like with this, I hadn't. And like, therefore, like that struck me at that point then, before all this education around offers came out, the importance of reframing and packaging it up what you do in a way where it's outcome focused. And so people really understand what it is that you're looking to deliver. The offer is critically important. Your audience is critically important, but then you need to get clear on your message. And your message is then, how do you speak the language of your audience? Most people aren't afraid of creating content. Out of interest, give me a thumbs up if you're creating content 3 times a week right now on LinkedIn. Just give me a thumbs up if you are. Like, most people are not shy of it. They'll put the work in, they'll put the content out there. Their engagement is like pretty average. It stays the same throughout. But what they don't see are their ideal clients engaging. And this really like important to understand why. Like, when it comes to me creating content, I'm not packing it full of LinkedIn and social selling content, because I know that's not really what people want. People say that they do, but then when you post it, you don't really get much engagement, because guess what? There's nothing for someone to cheer on, argue with, debate, unless I frame my content in that way. And I'm going to explain to you how that works in a short while. But I spend like hours, and I can't tell you hours, talking to people. There's a few of you on here. Paul, I've seen your name on here. Steve, I've seen, like, we spend lots of time talking, right? And what I'm finding time and time again is that, like, I can spend probably half an hour scrolling someone's LinkedIn account, someone's Instagram account, and I find out more about them as a person and in their business after 2 minutes talking to them on Zoom than I do scrolling their LinkedIn account. And that is a huge problem. Like, what you need to be using your social media profiles for is sharing who you are and what it is that you do. Like, if you can do that, share what you believe in, share what you champion, share your opinions, share your thoughts, so people keep remembering you, that is where your engagement will grow. And then when you have the process, the back-end process that supports that audience growth and that engagement, that is where the conversion happens. But because people aren't getting the right language out there, because they're saying what they think, let me reframe this right. Because they're saying what they think their audience wants to hear, rather than knowing what their audience wants to hear and what they're triggered by, they're wasting lots and lots of opportunity. So with your message, you need to frame it from your ideal client avatar's point of view rather than your own. And I'm going to share with you a couple of examples of that in a second. But when you get it right and you make the change, that's where business starts to come. So lots of people right now are using social and getting nothing from it. Loads of people. But when you start actually using the language, so as an example, if I talk about LinkedIn, no one cares. If I talk about everything that like people are doing wrong on LinkedIn and how, like, if they stop doing it, they get loads of results. Suddenly, if I use that as a hook, I get loads of engagement. If I go, here are the 3 top tips for LinkedIn usage, no one cares and it gets ignored. It's about how you frame what it is that you do. With my product, with the social selling suite, it's not just some social selling training. It's how do you get more business from this platform in 30 days? Like, it's to the outcome, it's to the point. And therefore, when we deliver on expectation, our attention is great. And that's what we're showing you to do on this training here. But you've got to start with this one question. Why should your ideal client avatar follow you? What is it that you do that will enable you to stand out online? What makes you different? It's a minority that do this well. And when you do, that's where the growth starts to happen, not just in your follower number, but in everything else as well. Email addresses, sales conversations, revenue, profit. So just take the time to have a look at, like, where are the gaps in your industry right now? Go onto YouTube and type in your subject and see what the top performing videos are right now. Go and see if there's a top performing YouTube video out there Maybe create your own written piece that's kind of similar. Look at their title of their YouTube video. Look at the visual that they've used. Like, you can take inspiration from so many different places, and therefore you should never run out of great content. That is my biggest question that I ask every single day. Like, what is it that I believe in that people that's going to get people talking? So some of you might have seen, I posted my thoughts on engagement groups a couple of weeks ago. Now, that got lots of conversation because actually I've done lots of testing and analysis on them, and I've got a lot of stuff that's backed up with them as to what makes them good and what makes them bad. Like, I shared it with a strong opinion on them, and boom, that post went massive and my following grew. That's what people want me to talk about, but they want to do it in a way that's backed up with evidence. And therefore, if you don't know the answers to those two questions, like, find someone that can help you answer them. Whether it's a friend, a colleague, a coach, a trainer, whatever, like, find someone that can give you them. And this was what me and Eric were speaking about. And you can see Eric on it. Some of you might follow Eric, you might know Eric at all, but Eric was a content client of ours about a year and a half ago. Eric's gone from having 30,000 followers on LinkedIn, 12,000 followers on LinkedIn to over 300,000 in just under a year. Like, and the content that he's putting out is one thing. There's a couple of other things that he then does, which is coming in the second part of today's session, which then actually drives it forward even further. But Eric had to get clear on what his message was. He spotted gaps in certain information, and then he shared it. And with that came huge growth. And at the end of this session, I'm going to be offering you the chance to speak to me, and we'll go through this stuff, right? We'll sit down and we'll talk through it together. We'll look at your message. We'll look at your audience. We'll look at your offer. We'll look at your social selling process, and we'll identify what changes you need to make. And then with that, we'll then talk about kind of how do we implement it? Like, what are the next steps from there? So if you want to have one of those calls with me, there is my Calendly link is there. If you use that QR code or you use that link there, pipeline44.com/apply, you can apply for a call in my diary. I'm only doing them over the next couple of days because next week is manic for me. But if you have any issues booking, then let me know. But these calls are all around strategy, right? It's all about what do we need to change to make an impact. So is that something that you want? The QR code is there. It's also going to be in the top right-hand corner there throughout the rest of this presentation, so you can see it. Just let me know. Does everyone see that QR code okay? It's not blocked out or covered by anything, is it? Just double check for me. Is everybody gone to sleep? Yes, you can see it. Good stuff. Cool. Okay, so some top tips for clarity then. Like, I'm not going to read those out for you. You can read them for yourself, right? But the biggest thing for me is being open to change. So, like, most people don't change their message for me frequently enough. They're saying the same things that they were saying a year ago. Like, for me, I adapt my message every single quarter. I'm going to give you them now. So in January, like, everybody typically feels quite motivated for the new year. So my is very much like really supporting and giving energy back. So the way that I show up is very positive, very driving people forward, very like all in. In February, it goes to a bit doom and gloom, doesn't it? Like, it gets a little bit like people seem to go, oh God, January's done already. I can't believe it. February, oh, it's like the darkest month of all time. Like, it's a real gloomy month for lots of people. And so my tone goes a little bit calmer, right? It goes, look, don't worry about it. Don't put yourself under too much pressure. There's opportunity out there as long as you just do the basics right over a period of time, get your message right. So my tone and how I show up adapts depending on the time of the year. And it's that kind of tiny detail that you need to understand in your social media marketing to make the difference. Because if you're going at it with a real go-getter message when people just don't want to hear it, right, you're just going to get ignored and get blended in. And again, you're just going to blend in. Really important to know. Before I move into connection, does clarity make sense? Is that giving you some insights and something to think about? Hoping it has. If anyone has any questions around it, please make sure you use the Q&A section. Good stuff. Okay, cool. So let's move into connection for you. There are two things. This is all updated as of, I think I was finishing this presentation yesterday. This section I did about 2 weeks ago. Two things that you still need to do though. You need to build an audience and you need to control it. I'm going to talk about building an audience to begin with. It's three things you need to do to build an audience. And there's some key things that you need to change to start actually increasing the overall percentages for your account. Network building I've covered, right? But I'm going to cover some specific things for you. This needs to be done every week, right? It's free to do. Just go out there and connect with active people. What most people do though, is they go and use the search functionality to do it. And although that's not a problem, right, that's just the way that everyone seems to do it, you don't actually get the increased rate of acceptance that we see. So I typically get 50 to 70% of my connection requests accepted, and therefore I maximize the growth curve. I have two rules that I follow when it comes to network building. Is the person active? The easiest way to do this, even if you want to shortcut what I mentioned before about checking their profile, is quite simply to go into and start connecting with people that are commenting on posts. So if you find somebody that's a bit of an influencer in your space, I go and find someone that's an influencer, someone that's got like lots of followers, lots of engagement. Inside of their comment section are all active users. Now, not all of them are going to look like your ideal client avatar. Totally fine. But the ones that are, go out there and connect with them. There's two reasons. One, you know they're active. Two, if they are commenting on someone's post, it means they're also engaging, which might mean if you start engaging with them, they then might start commenting back and drive your account further. The second rule that I follow, and I've just mentioned it there, but it is the person that I'm looking to connect with, interested in what I'm going to be posting, not selling. Like, so this doesn't mean I only connect with my ideal client avatar. What I'm looking for are people that are going to support what it is that I do. Perception is everything in this space, and you may not want to hear it, but perception, the bigger you're following, the bigger your engagement, technically gives you more credibility, even though it probably shouldn't. If I had 100,000 followers, you would probably have been more likely to show up and listen to this than if I have 18,000. Like, the number makes a difference. And although I hate it, it's the truth. And therefore, we've got to play the game in the right way. And with that comes like wasting, what you would say, wasting typically connection requests with people that aren't going to buy from you, but they're going to support you. And there's a little tactic that you can do if you haven't done it already. If you're not connected to everybody that you know personally, in person, as in you'd shaken their hand before or given them a hug before, go and connect with them, because actually they will typically support you. There's obviously the odd one or two that probably won't, is a bit jealous of your progress, right? That happens. We all have them. But the majority are positive and will support. And that engagement is something that you can capitalize on. The second then thing is content. So content is something that everybody overthinks. Anybody, I personally believe, and have tested, right, can generate attention on this platform. No matter how big of a following you have, everyone can. Most people, though, just post content that doesn't generate an opinion. And an opinion is what you need for your content to travel. So what you need to do after every post that you do is just think about, right, really closely. If I read this post as somebody that was one of my audience, would I immediately have something to say about it and comment on it? So you know where people put like the agree or disagree type call to action? If you do a post that generates an opinion straight off the back, you won't even need to put the question at the end. People will just be automatically triggered after reading 4 lines of it. So where I put like engagement pods are the best thing on earth, I don't need to put agree or disagree at the end. Straight away, you're going to be, no, they're not this. They're an absolute waste of time. You're gaming the system. You're a cheat. Or you'll go, yeah, I agree with you. That completely makes sense. Yeah, I support what you're saying. I don't have to ask a question, right? But I'm talking about something that other people have an opinion on in my industry, which again pushes me further, but also pushes my overall credibility further as well. So what I want you to think about, get a piece of paper, like get to the left-hand side of you, and just write down what are all the things in your industry that people have got an opinion on. Like if you're in an office, what's all of the things that people moan about, that they almost, forgive my language, bitch about? Like what are all the things that people talk about? And I know it's like really obvious, but like it's really important to like start thinking about everything that you're doing and how you're showing up. Like one of the things that I look at with every single person's post when it comes up on my newsfeed is what is their headline like? What is their visual like? Are the visual and the headline connected? Because if they are, you increase your likelihood of that post doing well by, I don't know what the number would be, I'll be making it up, by a large amount. And therefore, what you've just got to do is just share your thoughts. Has anyone seen that post office documentary recently, the Mr. Bates post office documentary recently? I saw it. It blew my mind. I've got an opinion on it that I'm going to share. But if I don't share that within the next couple of weeks, right, it's just going to fall apart and be ignored. So I've got to do it quick, and I've got to try and then make it relevant. in terms of it. Like, I can't believe this hasn't been spoken about on social media before. And I don't know why it's such a big deal now with this BBC documentary. Why has this not been spoken about? Maybe it has, and I've just not seen it. If I've not seen it, that means they're not doing their jobs properly by talking about it. This is all stuff that you can see how I can angle it into what it is that I do. What I want you to think about is how can you do the same thing? And even if you can't, still doing it anyway. And that tip at the bottom there is just something to think about, right? Can you, in some way, shape or form, with any content that you put out there, be cheered or argued with? It's my cheat code. Like, can I see someone cheering me on saying, Chris, that's amazing? Or can I see someone actually going, Chris, you're completely wrong on that? My business partner, Nick, did one yesterday around about his alcohol journey that he's been on. He went from drinking a lot in his early business days to now not drinking as much. And he's talking about that. That's got like 26,000 impressions on. Has it generated any business yet? No, but the process that we've got behind the scenes means that it will. And this is something that we talk about all the time. Like you can see here, this is actually Nick's partner, Lizzie. And Lizzie started using LinkedIn probably around about 4 to 5 months ago. And you can see she's got 3,200 followers now. She had 1,000. And so we sat down and we created a little bit of a content plan. And she's actually smashed this out the park. You can see here where she started. This was this was probably August time. So 6 months ago, something like that. But can you see the amount of impressions that she's got? 287,000. She only had 1,500 followers at the time. Like, you do not need a big audience to be able to reach people. If you start talking about the stuff that people are interested in, you can see here, like her post there, 81,000 people that got there. Yesterday, I put my kids into childcare. Again, related to what she's doing, but again, things that people are opinionated on. It generated conversation. This is actually my partner, Zoe. You can see 880 followers Zoe had on LinkedIn. I don't think that's grown very much, is it? Around at 900, I think it is now. She put this post out about our support dog, Peggy. And you can see here, this wasn't directly related to her property business, by the way. But one of the things that we want to do is create dog-focused holiday lets. You can see here, just by putting that post live, she had 900 followers. Like, if this isn't like a wake-up call to how bad your content might be doing right now, that this is what it is, 130,000 people. And you can see the message that Zoe then sent in. So yesterday I posted something not related to work, but related to the charity volunteer work that we do. And it's still growing. 2 messages asking about investment opportunities. Like, this is why this stuff doesn't have to be specifically related to what it is that you do. Because straight away here, where we're looking to raise money for some property projects, you can see on the right, I just watched a short video and I'm intrigued to know more. I've considerable experience with dogs and considering investment opportunities. Like, if we'd not posted that photo out there, that message would not have come. And therefore, it's critical that you understand how you can form your own content strategy with all the stuff that's going on in your life that people are going to be connected to. And therefore, it's going to help support your overall business growth and how it connects. Like, this is all I've done. Like, it's nothing complex, right? You can see the sort of content I put out there. It's not hard to take the photos as you go. Like, the content when I was building my first property business, which shot up my Instagram profile, it was all about just sharing the insights that I was finding, like I'm sharing with you here today. If I didn't have any evidence here, right, you'd be like, well, you're just saying this, Chris. But everything that I'm doing is shared by evidence, and therefore all I'm doing is documenting it. Day 1 evaluation, how to attract your guests. This is how we attract our guests to our Airbnb units. This is how we make £600 a month from property that we don't own. Like, all of this stuff I was sharing and I was documenting as I was going. And again, when you get this right, it is insane what happens. This was Philippa Nicholson. Philippa normally joins these, but I think she's busy today. But with Philippa's journey, you can see here, with this one post that she did, which was around about ADHD and recruiting neurodiverse people. Philippa is a recruitment consultant. She runs a recruitment agency. But you can see one post that was slightly controversial. 458,000 impressions, 7,000 followers to 7,600 in 5 days, 32 messages, being invited to a guest on a podcast, 5 bespoke package proposals going out. Like, this is what happens when you get content right. And it's just about understanding what it is that you need to be talking about and what visuals you need to be doing to be able to trigger this algorithm to push you. And one of the supporting activities to this is engagement. Something that I know can seem lots like really pointless to most. Actually, in fact, how many of you are engaging on the newsfeed each day right now? By engaging, I mean commenting on other people's posts. Just out of interest, how many of you are doing it? So it's a couple of people straight away that are. Okay, I think there might be a slight delay. So the majority are, but most people, Paul there is saying no way near enough, right? I hate commenting. I'm going to say it, like, I hate it. It is the most tedious task in the world. Like, having to find content that I care enough about to share upon is something that's really difficult, but it's something that I'm going to force myself to do now. Because let's face it, the one thing that we all want on our content when it goes live is commenting. And therefore, and this again isn't just me saying it, I'm going to share something with you in a second that's madness. If you commit to engaging, growth will happen, because it's not just something that I've just noticed. Like, it's something that I've had confirmed by people. Eric, I mentioned earlier, who have grown by over 100,000 followers this year. And the only changes they've made during that time were the content that was being created and engaging with other people. Like, the example that I'm about to show you is an extreme, but it shows the power of getting the advice, like getting the right advice, and then being held accountable to do it. This is a WhatsApp conversation. You can see here. I put fit. This is how much time. Like, if you want to start taking this seriously and seeing that this guy has grown from 10,000 followers to 350,000 followers. And this is actually directly contributing. You can see at the bottom, 100,000 subscribers per year to his newsletter. That's money. You've got 100,000 people on a list. The sponsorship revenue alone is humongous. There are companies that have sold for several £1 million, Morning Brew being one, a newsletter company that sold for $50 to $60 million just from having a big email list, right? But again, you can see that there. I'm not going to read it for you. It's there for you to see. 50 hours, 25 hours, 7 hours. It's a large amount of time. It is graft. And like, this is where I need to really hammer it home. If this was easy, everyone would be doing well. The reason why the majority aren't is because you don't need to do it to this extreme. However, you do need to start focusing in on doing the right things at the right time and doing it over and over and over again, connected to a process so you see the revenue with it. This is like something that, again, it's not just with Eric. We see it across all of the clients that we work with. Matt Fletcher's following is huge. Now, he didn't work directly with me. He works with my business partner, Sam Raffling. But you can see what Matt's doing in the same way. Like, if you think you've got a boring topic, right? Imagine being Matt having to talk about remanufacturing services and equipment refurbishment. Matt generated 127,000 views on a post. It's more than I've ever got. Like, I'm talking about LinkedIn. My stuff should travel further, right? But it doesn't, because actually what Matt's doing is being really clever with his engagement, being really clever with his hooks and what he's talking about, and following the plan. 8,000 profile views Matt had. You can see there the spike that he saw. Right, when he started to do this properly, he actually sent this email in to Sam. Some of you might have seen this before, because for me, it blows my mind every time that I see it. I've taken on 18 new customers this month. All have come through LinkedIn. Like, since COVID here, I've worked to post something each day. First peak was 129,000 views. Then he sent another one in. I wanted to share some news and give you a bit of an update, if you don't mind. I've had a 1 million plus deal done recently. Guess where this customer found me? Yep, their words. We've seen you on LinkedIn. It's a 3-year contract worth £1.2 million. Like, this for me is something that I look at every single time that I run these work, and it just reminds me how powerful it is. Matt hadn't even done an outbound approach. He didn't need to. Like, he was that flooded with inbound from just showing up every single day and then taking control of his audience, right? That's the next thing that he could do to do it even better. But building an audience is one thing. You then need to control it. What I mean by control, I'm going to share with you the process in a second. But what you've got to do is start communicating with your connections. It's one thing building a following. It's another thing turning it into a business, right? I utilize messaging not to have in-depth conversations, although you can, but instead to push people away. Sounds a bit like counterintuitive, right? But what we find is the harder we push away, the more people come back. Our objective with messaging is to drive value into someone's inbox so they get a taste of what it is that you're on about. The chances of the person that you're messaging being ready to work with you at that point in time is next to zero. So it's all really important to understand what the objective is from LinkedIn. For LinkedIn, for us, what we suggest is that what you do is move them from LinkedIn off of the platform to an email list, doing that via what we call a lead magnet. You can see my message there, right? Look, I don't want a response from you. Here's a YouTube video and here's a content guide, right? The thing that makes this powerful is the lead magnet. And the lead magnets that we give away, we have 100 content ideas guide. We have a guide that's got 100 content ideas in it. And we have our complete guide to social selling. Out of interest, if anyone wants the 100 content ideas guide, just put the number 100 in the chat and it'll be sent to you at the end of the session. Just put the numbers 100 if you want it. And we also then have the complete guide to social selling. So if you want that guide, just put guide in the chat and we'll send it to you as our gift to you. So guide and 100 if you want them. You can see all the comments coming into the chat, right? The biggest problem most people have is the fact that what people are giving away for free, people don't want. You can see the reaction there in the chat box of how many people you've all messaged. I know it's a bit biased because you're on my workshop, right? But 100 content ideas in the complete guide to social selling. Every workshop I do, people want those things. What most people don't have is a thing that people want, and therefore it doesn't get downloaded. Here's a hard truth. If you are not getting any downloads on your lead magnets, on the things that you give away for free in exchange for an email address, your lead magnet is not good enough and it needs to change. It's got nothing to do with your audience. It's all to do with what it is that you're giving away. And therefore, what we spend lots of time doing, talking to customers about, is what is it that you can give away that, here's a little thing for you, that can almost be used as a tool, something that people come through to. One thing I'm creating is a content planning and data analysis tool. I'm going to give that away for free because I know people want it. People aren't very good at planning and having loads of content ideas. So I'm going to combine the guide with the content planning and analysis tool, the one that I use anyway. I'm just going to put it together. I'm also creating a document that's got 1,000 headlines in, 1,000 of the best headlines that I've found over the last couple of years. I have a document that I didn't realize people wanted. Apparently people want it. So I'm going to create a lead magnet because these are the things that people need. What you need to work out for your own business is, what are those things for you? And this is a perfect example of how an outreach process works, right? I sent this one message to a lady called Caroline. She blanked it. You can see here, completely blanked my message, blanked both of them. 33 days later, I get a message saying, can you tell me a little bit more about my social selling academy? Caroline hadn't engaged in a thing, hadn't commented, hadn't even, for I realized, hadn't even read the message because it didn't tell me. However, what I do was I jump onto it. I go, yeah, just saw your message on Sales Nav. What's the best email number to get you on? Let's have a chat and talk it through. For a free strategy call, got the email address, sent her the webinar, Tuesday at 2:21 p.m., Tuesday 2:22 p.m., bang, 5:35 p.m., loved the webinar, signed up. I follow the process. The process is what makes everything work. If I just kind of had a conversation and then went, oh, would you like to work with me? Probably wouldn't have happened because there's no way I can give the context of how we work in a 5 to 10 minute phone conversation in the same way that I do in this hour-long presentation. Does everyone understand? Does that make sense? Like, can you see the importance of having a process and somewhere to drive people to be able to start nurturing these people? Using this platform is actually relatively simple. Like, build your network, get great content out there, engage, do it over and over again. But the thing that I'm trying to hammer home is it's the tiny details that matter. Little example for you in your headline, right? I saw the other day, there's a guy called Chris Bramley, and Chris is a personal trainer. And it hit me when I saw it. Loads of people have what we call I help statements in their headline. Like, I help people do this. Like, a subtle change to I help people do this to I've helped this many people do this. That subtle change in language makes all the difference, because if it was just another I help someone lose weight, I'm not clicking onto it. What this person's headline was, and he's not by no means a master of LinkedIn, it just hit home when I saw it and I started scrolling his profile. It was, I've helped 200 dads lose 2 stone. Like, that was his headline. And I'm like, I saw it and I'm like, if I'm a dad and I'm looking to lose weight, I'm going to straight away click onto it. It is the difference a couple of letters can make. And this is where I really need to hammer in on the detail of this stuff, because the detail is where you succeed. It's not just about pushing the buttons. And once you then understand that, you can then move into conversion. Now, my job today, as I mentioned at the beginning, is just to share with you what works for us. I do this publicly. As you can see, this was me speaking at Lloyd's Bank last year, and I shared the exact same presentation. You can see at the back there, it's just in different branding colors. Like, this stuff doesn't change. Like for me, people just waste way too much time on this platform. They're running live content. They're doing lives and no one's watching them. Like they're posting content and getting zero engagement and thinking that if they just keep going, eventually it will change. You can get engagement, as you've seen, with 900 followers, like today. Like today. Like you just need to understand what you need to be talking about. Message responses. You can start getting responses on your messages today. You just need to change the message. If you get comments like that was great, but then don't get any sales from it, again, you can make changes to that today. Like putting effort in, unfortunately, isn't enough. You've got to put the effort in the right places. And that is obvious, I know. But I've got to hit it home because most people think that if they just press buttons on this platform, it's going to work. And it's not. You need to have certain things in place for this to work. And this is the one thing that I think most people need. It is just a simple process. Now, that's a flow diagram. You've actually got to execute that process, right? It's like having a plan. It's right having one, but then you've got to execute upon it and be held accountable to deliver it. But you can see here, what most people do is have their connection part 50% down. So LinkedIn profile, LinkedIn network building, may send some messages, may post some content. But the sales don't come off the platform. I don't make any money directly on LinkedIn. Everything comes off it. Everything comes through to the email list. Everything comes through to like conversations that I have on Zoom. It's that process which you can take a screenshot of and then you can go through. And Vishal, what I'll do is I will share with you. If you drop me a message just saying process, I will send you the screenshot to it. Drop me a message on LinkedIn saying process and I'll send you the screenshot. I've got a post out there that's on it that I'll send you the link to. The best way to explain to you is to show you it. And by the way, not process in the chat, just so you know, just send me a message on LinkedIn saying process, because it's a link to a post that I need to send you. Sorry to be a pain. But Donna is a person that we started working with a year and a bit ago. She now works as part of with our agency as well. But she is a leadership consultant. And she had elements of that process in place, like the majority of people do. She'd worked with other marketing people before, but just hadn't seen the results. We took 30 minutes. I was in the Hilton Hotel in Northampton. I sat there on Zoom with her talking it through. She was working with another LinkedIn person at the time. But what I did was I just showed her this. I was like, look, here's the process. This is what you've currently got. And this is why it's not working, because you've got all these gaps. What I need to do is take you through. It takes normally around 3 weeks to get this in place, 3 weeks to get the foundations of this process in place. And then we're going to continuously improve it over the year. So I don't work with people short term. I work with people over a long period of time to really drive this home because, like you can see today, I'm running this process today. So there's things that change and people, again, stay up to date with that by working with us. But again, what we did was then just fill in the gaps. We couldn't do everything from a connection point of view, but we did do as much as we could. And then that's what we all need to do together. So again, like if you're going to do this, it's going on the same journey. You can see the feedback that Donna gets there on everything that she does. But we need to craft the message that helps you stand out, create that conversion piece of content that you can drive your traffic towards, build out the email list every single day, focusing in on the number, make sure your offer is framed in the right way, like I did with the Instagram challenge, the 1,000 follower challenge over the 2-day masterclass, and then stop everything else and just focus in on this process. Focus in on it to the degree where the tiny details you pick up on to be able to succeed. When you do that and following that 30-day plan, you can then build a following and the process that gives you the conversion. Because then once you've got it, that you can repeat it. Donna generated, it wasn't huge amounts of money, but not bad. Like within 3 hours, 6 grand of sales, then set the date for a next one. And we knew because the data told us. So again, we saw there that the show up rate was below 50%. Because it was below 50%, we knew that we had to increase the way that we were getting people to that workshop. Like we changed the email sequence. And you can see here, when we did that, she went from 80 people registered, 33 attended, so below that 50%. And then boom, because of the changes, again, we then knew what to do. She signed 2 people up of that workshop, which was where that 6 grand of sales came from. And then when we did it again, suddenly those changes had a big impact. She had more people there. Masterclass was ran, and again, 5 spaces were booked out. I went from 2 sales to 5. This isn't a one-off. Like 21 members upsold the 6K package to a 35 grand deal, 2 million in the cleaning company. Like works for a cleaning company. Again, here you can see another person signed up for the mastermind. And then one here, 90 people stayed to the end. 2 spots were taken before I finished the Q&A. You can see here, signed £8,000. Like this happens every day. We're seeing wins in our community because again, it's not hard. It's just showing it. It's just following it. It's just diving deep into it. Not a problem, John. We can share that with you. Of course we can. But again, like the process is the process. Like you've just got to follow it. And again, I can just keep clicking through here. There's just so many in terms of how it works. So the top tips for conversion for you. And then I'm going to spend 5 minutes talking to you about how you can work with us, right? The biggest one here is the fact that people aren't on LinkedIn to buy products. They are on there because they're either bored or for their own selfish reasons. And as long as you know that, you can do everything that you want to be able to move them away from it. And so if you want to start generating that consistent flow of leads, please realize you don't need to post hundreds of pieces of content. Consistency typically isn't your problem. What you need is that process that's going to effectively nurture them so you're not having to bust your ass posting content to nobody. And then having a promotion plan, a strategy that you can then execute upon. Social selling, no matter what people tell you, like is simple in concept, but isn't easy to actually get the results. This is literally just marketing and sales, but doing it online, right? It takes the effort, but it takes lots of testing. And therefore, like we've got to get your message, audience, and offer right. Paul, I'm not too sure if you're still here, but this is stuff we're working with you on, right? We've got to get that stuff right. Like if we don't get that right, all the activity that you do on LinkedIn is pointless, right? And therefore, the social selling suite is a solution that includes for me, like the 4 things that most are missing, like training that actually drives action, accountability that forces you to actually do something, mentoring to guide you and give you the answers that you're looking for, and technology to monitor and analyze everything in the same way that we do. That's what the suite is. So with the training, you get roadmaps to follow. It's not just random. Like we will drive you through and give you the education to build that process. We're then going to give you deadlines. Like you need to work to these deadlines and you will have calls booked in with us to check in to make sure that you've done them. We then give you mentoring, whether it's on a Zoom call like this, where we'll have a conversation where I'll spend 15, 20 minutes like driving home and reviewing what you're doing, or you've got 2 live weekly sessions that you attend as well, a Monday and a Thursday. We then have the technology, which I'm going to show you all in a second so you can see how it all works. But this is all included within the one membership. The Academy has 6 phases to it. And this is what we took Donna through. It's what we're taking everybody that works with us through. We take you through clarity, where you work with us. We will onboard you through clarity, which is product, offer, audience, and message. We will frame it in a way that's going to convert. I will then take you through step by step, rather than just dumping it on you, how to build each part. So if you want to launch a podcast, I'll show you how to launch a podcast. I've had 2 #1 podcasts in my time. I still create today. If you want to know how to get a YouTube channel going, we will build and show you how to build a YouTube channel. If you want to do short form video, I'm not a short form video expert, but I have a person that will teach you how to do that inside of the Academy. Like this all works really well, and we will show you how to plug in and build that process. There is a training video for everything that you need to start social selling consistently. With all of this, we are continuously updating our content. It's very, very straightforward in how it works. And you work through a step-by-step checklist with us. You will be held accountable to tick off every single box as you go through. We hold you accountable in 2 ways. 1 via Zoom, but 2 also via Slack. Now, Slack might be changing to a different platform in the future, but every step along the way, there is a deadline that's agreed and you need to send your work through. When you send it through, we will review it and tell you whether it's right or wrong. If we don't hear from you, expect a phone call chasing you to see where you're at. You just need to simply follow the process I do every single day, as mentioned before. So even if it is watching a webinar, if you choose to run a webinar like this, we watch it and give you line by line feedback. I then do with the team as well. So with me, Nick, Sam, Elise, and Victoria, we do then live mentoring as well. So every Monday at 12 p.m., every Thursday at 2 p.m., we get together as a group. You then have your check-in calls and we will challenge you. Like we're not here just to be your friends, right? We're going to push you outside your comfort zone and get you working at the levels required for this to be a success. I'm hoping you get the vibe. We're quite relentless with this stuff. Like all you've got to do is immerse yourself into it, build out the process, and then let the process work for you. Like for me, when I spend time talking to people, in 15 minutes, I'm showing you what to do. Like James put there, spent 15 minutes talking to me. The next meeting I had with him, he was already trying to sell me the services, whatever his wording was, because the chat's covering it. Almost sold me my own services. I need to get to know your business. My team need to get to know your business to show you how to sell it properly. This isn't just marketing. You can see the technology that we're launching on the 26th of January. You will get access to this, to be able to host your lead magnets, to be able to build your email list. Like, it's all going to be there for you to be able to track. People spend fortunes on this software, email marketing, CRMs. Like, we're going to remove that and just give you what you need to be able to get this working. So the technology is being used so you can analyze in the same way that I do, so I know what works and what doesn't. Today's offer is a 12-month social selling suite experience. Like I say, I don't work with people that want to give this a go for a month. Like, this is about getting this stuff done, and we're going to work through it. You're going to get all the feedback that you need, one-to-one calls and accountability check-ins, access to the testing phase of that tech launch, access to the weekly mentoring calls. You get all the templates that you need. So you get my PowerPoint presentation template that you can use as an example that I've spent hundreds of hours almost doing now. And then also we have a LinkedIn and Sales Navigator program. If you're paying for Sales Nav, you also get that done. It's been done by my business partner, Sam. I'm going to be clear with you. It's 250 quid a month for the year, right? So one-to-one support, accountability check-ins, all the training. Like, people pay thousands of pounds a month for this. It's £250 plus VAT per month. I'm also then going to give you free tickets to all of our in-person social selling workshops. So throughout the year, these are typically quarterly, but we might increase the velocity of them. You will get a free ticket to every single workshop. So you get to network. You get to meet like-minded people. Our first one is on the 26th of January. But if you can't come to that, just come to the next one, right? These are all included. Just a bonus from me to you. You can see a workshop that we ran there. These are going to be run all over the country. So again, there'll hopefully be a venue that you can attend. But this is about networking, bit of masterminding, bit of training, and also a bit of fun. So we'll go for some food and drinks afterwards so we get to meet each other as well. Bonus number 2, and this is only for the first 10 people that join us because of my calendar. It's not a random call with a stranger. You're going to talk to me. I'm going to spend 30 minutes talking to you, creating your strategy for you. So I'm going to take you through clarity together on that call. Now, my time, you can see it's priced there at 500 quid. It's normally £1,000 an hour. It's 500 quid for the 30 minutes. That's coming included within the £250 a month that you'll be paying. So again, it's there for you. You cannot just buy this. You need to book a call in because you need to make sure it's right for you. But I also need to make sure that you're right for it. So the price is there. We've made it accessible for businesses that we want to work with. And with that, all you need to do to be able to book a call in is use that QR code there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put in the HTTPS that there, and I'm just going to www.pipeline44.com/apply. I don't know how many calls are left because obviously people have been booking them in. It says Friday the 14th. That's totally wrong. Like, Friday isn't the day. It's Sunday that I start onboarding on Monday. So again, with that, excuse the typo. It's not right. But again, that link I hopefully should work if you want to come on board. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into the Q&A section and I'm going to answer any questions that are in there. So if you've got any questions, please make sure that you put it in there for me and we'll move forward. I know I was slightly overran today, and my partner I know has got a phone call that she needs to go on, so I won't be too long as we go through. But let's do a Q&A section here. Answer live. If you click on profile, surely the monthly limit is soon reached. I had mine reached within the first week. So again, with Steve, it's the search limit. So it's not the profile visits, it's the search limits. So viewing a profile in a comment section isn't a problem. But we can answer that in the suite, in the academy, Steve, for you as well, if you ask that question. What happens in the call that is scheduled? And we'll talk through, again, what you've done well, where things that you need to change, and then we'll talk about maybe if the academy is right for you as well. 100 in there. And that's actually all the questions. When inviting someone to connect, should you always send a personalized message? I don't, Karis. So I literally just press the connect button and leave it at that. That's all I do. Do you focus on personal branding? Is that what this is? Yes, it's personal branding. We do talk about company pages as well, but the main focus point is personal branding. Yes, it is. Before I all drop off, has that been useful for getting whether the academy is right for you? Is that giving you some insights into kind of like some things that you can change, some things that you can do? Like, has it given you open your eyes to what you need to kind of get going at right now? I'm just interested. Okay, good. It has. Brilliant stuff. I appreciate it. Obviously, if you have any questions at the end of this, drop me a message on LinkedIn. Like, I'm here to answer any questions that you've got. Do you think personal branding is more important than company? Yes, I do, Nicola. Personal branding, purely, but your personal profile, should I say, will get more reach and impressions than a company page will. So yes, to answer it. What I'm going to do, I'm going to stop sharing for now. I think everyone's had their time to come through. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a real pleasure talking to you. Have an amazing day. Have an amazing new year if I don't speak to you over the next few weeks. I'll see you all very, very soon. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.